All right, guys. So there's been some shifts going on in the market, and I want to talk about them in this live stream here. So, a couple things. A lot of times when a shift happens in a market, people think the market's going to crash, and that's actually not true. We've been taught so much that everything's crashing. So, what I want to accomplish and just go live is just showing you what's happening today, what's happening right now, and not necessarily just talk about, because the word crash is wherever used, but be like, okay, crash or just a shift in leadership? Like, which is it? And I'm going to show you that it's a shift in leadership. And then with that information, I want to show you what's leading and kind of dig into it. So on my screen here, I have five squiggly lines. And these five squiggly lines are just the different sizes of stocks in the market. The one on the bottom right here, let me just get my cursor over here. That's mega cap. So that's the Dow Jones. So that's 30 gigantic stocks. The one right above it is the S&P 500. So let's just call that large cap. Then we have green, which is mid cap. Then we have, I don't know what that is, violet, something like that, fuchsia. And that's small cap. And then on top, we have micro cap. So the first thing I just want you to see here is all the sizes are going higher, right? One's not crashing and one's going up. Like, they're all moving up. Now, they're all moving up at a different pace. And one thing people are not taught is to look at a price chart and just get the idea of what's the price charts doing. And there's a lot of nuance to this, but this is a pretty simple price chart. It's going back to March of 2020. So we're looking at a year of data, basically from the COVID crash bottom to today. And just kind of notice over here, everything kind of moved up together. All the different sized stocks from mega to micro, they were all kind of doing the same thing. And then in June of last year, just kind of notice there started to have a separation happening, right? All the colors start to separate it out, with the light teal, we can call it, which is micro, that starts to separate from the rest. It stays separated basically from there forward. And then notice again back in October of last year that the separation accelerated. So what's happening is people are focusing maybe down on a mega cap only, because maybe that's what worked in the past. But just notice now when we split out the market in all the different sizes, from mega to large to mid cap to small cap to micro cap, you have micro cap really just crushing it, exploding to the upside. Right under it is small cap, right under that is mid cap. So clearly the size is mattering right now post-COVID. So what I thought might be kind of fun to do is to jump into the biggest one, which is microcap. And that ticker symbol is IWC. Now, there's lots of ETFs that cover microcap. I just simply picked IWC. And so I thought it'd be fun to just kind of go over here. This is IWC itself. So we're looking at the Ishares Micro Cap ETF. And we can see that back, now that's 2018 right here, right? If you look at 20. So it peaked in 2018, and it couldn't get above that 2018 high for some time. Even right here, here's the high coming into 2020 right here. This could not even get above this. Now, let me just quickly show you something here. Let me just show you SPY, because I want you to see something different. So this right here on IWC, this is SPY right now. So this is large cap. Notice how the black line spends a lot of time above that late 2018 high, like a lot of time above it. But on microcap, there's the same spot right there. It spends most of its time below it. So we know way before the COVID situation, the pandemic situation in early 2020, microcap was underperforming. And it couldn't even break above that, right? You can see how it just, even this stayed below it. So finally, it clearly moved higher and then accelerated. And I pointed out on this chart right here that really October was an accelerant. June and October was the accelerant. So June, let's get June here. This is kind of June right here, where IWC, microcap, starts accelerating faster than all the other sized stocks in the US. And then in October, it really accelerates away from the rest of them. Again, mega cap is working, large cap, mid cap, small cap, they're all working. But the question is, which one is going to work for you the hardest? Which one's going to grow your portfolio the hardest? So here we have, and if you look here, let me just put this in just to show you. Look right here. Back in that October where it really accelerated, just away from everything else, it broke that downward trend line. So that was a huge, significant breaking that downward trend line. So let's do this. Let's jump into IWC. Let's look what's in IWC, because really what this is right here, this is the US stock market right here. And the way I've chosen to filter it or slice it or segment it out is by size. You can segment a market 10 ways to Sunday. Size is just one of them. And so we're doing it this way. You could do it via dividend or PE ratio or location or sector. There's so many ways. This is just doing it by size. So we already took the US stock market. We know it's moving higher. That's the 5 different sizes. Here is micro. It's the one that has just really accelerated. And so over on my other screen here, I'm going to jump over to my other screen. What I want to show is when I look into this, and what I mean by look into this, I want to actually look into the ETF and see what its biggest holdings are. So let me do this. So let me jump over. So on my other screen, actually I can bring it over. I'm going to bring it back over to the other screen in a moment, but let me do this. So when I go into IWC, these are its 15 biggest holdings, right? So we know IWC is beating everything else. Now look, you can just stop there. You don't have to keep digging. You can just go, wow, if I care about which size of the market, if I'm slicing up the market based on size, which is the best size? The answer is microcap. Okay, if you want to dig deeper, you can say, okay, well, what's in microcap? What's really working? So I want to show you this screen. Now I'm going to move it back to the other screen just so I can be able to look through here. So let me do this. I'm going to get rid of, I'll show you GameStop. I think it's more of a cautionary tale than anything else. Just insanity on top of insanity wrapped in insanity. So that's its biggest holding, but it's only 1.67%. So it's actually not that big. Its next biggest holding is APPS. So APPS, you can see here, has just been on fire, right? There's the COVID bottom right there. And from the COVID bottom to where it is today, it's up about 22x, 2200%. So what I want to do is actually just want to zoom back in, because looking at 10.5 years of data is a lot. So the screen you see here is just 3.5 years of price data. This is the second biggest holding of microcap. So let's just quickly go through. So this is one of the reasons why microcap is going higher, because think of it like, why is microcap going higher? And the answer is what's in microcap, or what makes up microcap is what's making microcap go higher. It makes sense. So the next one was Mgni. Yep. And that one is too. Again, doesn't look as good as APPS. Definitely from the COVID bottom here to its peak. Let's just see what this thing was up. Oh, only up 14x. This is 14x, guys. And think of it this way. The S&P on average does 10% a year. So Mgni just went up 1,400%, and let's just call it a year. So it did 140 years of the S&P. That just gives you an idea of how fast these things are moving. Fuel cell energy is the next one. I have to say, I don't like this one as much as the first two. I'm setting GameStop aside. The reason is, look at all this over here in its past that it has to figure out how to break through. I call these weather systems, right? Because people have price memory. They remember, they don't look at price charts necessarily, but they remember what they bought things at. And you can see that it attempted to break through that, and now it's below it. You do not want to buy something when it's below resistance. That is a low probable investment. Overstock is the next one that makes up micro. And then let's just see what's going on here. So that's its old high. Man, it had a huge run at the bottom here. Let's just see what this did. What did Overstock do? So Overstock went up 45 times. 45 times. And from that, it corrected down 60%. I got to tell you, it is it's a mess right now. So this thing is absolutely a mess. Now look, when something goes up 45 times or 450 years of S&P returns, it didn't even take it a year. It did it in about 6 months. You better believe that thing is going to digest. And that's what's going on. And the thing with Overstock, I would stay away from it, is this thing can move up or down 20 or 30% and still be in the digestion phase. So I'm going to skip that. I'm just kind of looking at what's in here. So what's this? Maxar technology looks very similar to Mgni, right? When I say that, I mean, there's this upper kind of noise up here. My attention's over here, just looking at all this noise and confusion. People have memory of this price up here. And that's why Maxar, MAXR, it's really hitting up against that. Now, this is a nice consolidation. This is consolidating. Now, these, clearly, if you buy up there and your, symbol goes down 24%, it's scary. But my suggestion is you first look to price. What does the price chart look like? Not necessarily what percentage up or down you are, but what's the price chart look like? So if you look at this, MaxR is just really in its, can see what this looks like in here. Zoom out, figures out how to break through all that upward resistance. I'd rather be in something that has no upward resistance. I mean, look at all this noise up here that it's got to figure out how to break through. Now, it's working its way through it, but all things being equal, it's going to be pretty messy and really noisy moving through all of that. I mean, I call it a weather system. It's all these prices in here that it has to work through. So that's MaxR. NTLA is the next one. Intellia Therapeutics. Let's see what this thing looks like. This is probably at new lifetime highs. It's not that old of a company. It's only at least IPO'd in 2016. And it really skyrocketed up. And look at this correction here. I mean, this thing's a wild child. It dropped only 44%, but visually that was a huge clean out. That absolutely cleaned people out. And from the COVID bottom, let's just look what it did from the COVID bottom. So, relative to the other symbols on here, let's just call this being up 8x. I know APPS was up 22x, and was it Mgni up 25x? This is a calm 8 times, which is really 80 years of the S&P. So there's just huge price volatility in this. I wouldn't say it's down and out. It's definitely consolidating. That formation you see there, this is the flag pole right there, and this is the flag, but super violent. Like, it is just kicking people out. It may go higher. I like that it's not really spending much time below here. That's a major price support. It did a clean out. That line that broke below there, this one right here, that's called a false breakout. It broke to the downside. It didn't stick. That for sure kicked people out. So this thing is moving. Like most things in microcap, it's moving. But again, what we're doing and how we got here is we figured out what the best sized investment is to be in. And we figured out it was microcap by looking at the price charts. And then I wanted to look into IWC, which is the microcap ETF that I was using. And this one's interesting too. Like this one, you see back into what I'm calling that weather system, but it's at the very top of it. So it moved through it quite nicely and is at the top of it. And man, if this thing breaks free of that, now maybe somewhere in the past to the left of this price chart, there's older history. And let me just see what that is here. I'm going to zoom way out and just go back 20 years just to see. So this may be its old lifetime high right there back in 2016 there. And you can see it's just, look at this, guys. It's just nudging, just putting its nose right above the water, trying to figure out if it should break higher. And man, this company almost went out of business. I mean, in 2016, it went from $37. And then by mid 2019, what's that? $1 down here, $2.50. I mean, something catastrophic happened to this business. It did figure out how to get back up on its feet. So this right here is super interesting. Something catastrophic happened to the company, but it's right back up. It's right back up where it was, which to me is a huge sign of strength. right? So it figured out its problems. Like you don't even need to look at any other data. You can just tell this thing went into a world of hurt, figured it out, and is right back up there. This is part of microcap, right? This is part of what's driving microcaps higher. And one thing I want you to notice with whatever symbol we're looking at, there's basically been just two types of formations, right? One is it's up against old resistance. It's digesting a gigantic move, whether it's 8x or 20x coming into that upper resistance. Or you have things like this, right, where it's way above its resistance and it has just corrected back down. Not necessarily consolidated, but has corrected back down. That's the other type of symbol that we're seeing here in microcap. I don't know when these are going to get kicked out of microcaps because this is a $8 billion company. Apps, which was the first one after GameStop, that's a 7 or 8 billion. So what happens is we have all these $100 million stocks, $500 million stocks that have gone up 10 to 20 times. I don't know when IWC will kick them out. But gosh, this is Sorrento Therapeutics. It's still in the top 15. This is a mess. I would skip this one. I mean, just look at all this mess down here. It's just an absolute mess. It still needs to figure things out. We got a couple more in the top 15. CALX, very similar. Again, remember that we've only seen two types of symbols here, right? We've seen one symbol that has clearly broken out to new lifetime highs and it's just screaming higher. This is Calix Networks. It's doing that. It's the second type, which has already broken the second type, which is it's broken. It's already broken lifetime highs, guys. It is screaming higher. And then the other one we've been seeing, I'll just bring up this. And what is it? Mgni. If you look at this is not the one I was thinking. The other one is where it has old resistance to the side of it. Maybe Overstock was a better example. So Overstock's a better example where it's really it's finding its feet again. It did a huge fall. It's back up. It's below. I mean, here Overstock you can see is below its old lifetime high. So we're kind of seeing two types of stock formations. Riot, which has been huge in the crypto. It is up, let's just see, 100x. I don't even know. Let's see. It's gone up 117x. That's 117x is ginormous. But that's what it did. But really also, I mean, this one's interesting because it broke above old highs here. From 2008 to 2020, it just was an absolute dying company. Did something it's often talked about. There was no blockchain being talked about over here. Crypto itself was invented right here. So this guy most likely changed their name because everything before that blue line, no one was talking. I'm pretty sure I never heard of blockchain until crypto came along. But this is definitely some sort of surrogate or tracking symbol for crypto that you can get to directly. And what's interesting to me about Riot is it is staying above its 2017 high there. Super volatile, but it's still staying above it. I mean, that correction from there down to there, 52%. But again, buyers came in when it came down to that. So this is an absolute wild child. And it's part of IWC, which again is microcap. So let's finish this off. I got three more symbols in the top 15 of micro cap ETF, IWC. I'd skip this. This is an absolute mess. It doesn't know. Talk about a manic looking stock. Going out of business, figured out the cure for cancer, going out of business, figured out the cure for cancer, going out of business, figured out the cure for cancer. If I zoomed, God, and this thing's been around a long time, at least 20 years. I mean, here it IPO'd in 94. Man, I'd stay away from this thing until it could at least, look at that triple top right there. It's got to stay away. I would stay away from this. I mean, you can kind of see the air starts to clear here, but that just looks like trauma to me. And then we got two more here. bottomed in 2016, up about 20, what is it, up 25x from 2016? Now, that's not from the COVID bottom. COVID bottom's right actually here. From COVID bottom, it's up 5x. But again, gosh, all this noise back here. I mean, it's got to break above this. It did. It's got all this. I would skip this. I mean, why buy something ugly when you can buy something so much beautiful, more beautiful, prettier? Same thing, I would skip this here. There's just, it's so messy. There's all this stuff over here it's got to break through. I know it's gone from almost nothing in 16. Now, I'll tell you what I do like. It bottomed in 16 coming into 2020. And so it's been moving up since 16. So 1, 2, 3, 4 years. It had been moving up for 4 years coming into 2016. So it's been accelerating. So, you know, COVID, whatever, this thing has figured itself out for 5 years now. It has just continued to move higher. So I do like that, that it has this gorgeous trend for 5 years. It has all this history back here. But it actually, I'm kind of changing my tune on this. It actually looks like it's figured things out. These are huge corrections, right? When you buy, and you should expect this thing to have corrections, but still be in the market, meaning it's still healthy. This thing can easily correct 40%. Yeah, easy 40, 50%. And for this symbol still not be negative. All right, guys, my name is RC Peck, and this was just something. I have a company called Fearless Wealth, and part of what we do is we train the investor. Think about that, actually training yourself to find what works. I use price charts. I wanted to show you how the market is doing great. Micro's leading the way, then small is right behind it, then mid, I was gonna say medium, no one calls it medium. Mid is right behind that large, and then ginormous after that at the very bottom. But even mega, again, looking at Dow Jones as the mega cap symbol, still going higher, guys. It is still moving higher. Thanks, guys, for watching this. I'll have more of these live. I hope you're doing well. Next time, I'll answer some questions if they come in, and I will talk to you guys soon. You guys take care of yourselves. All right, bye.